Morning guys, and welcome back for your morning dose of psychoeducation. My name's Fern and I'm a therapist who specialises in working with clients with OCD, panic and anxiety. And the reason that I work with these clients is because I've had my own experience of recovery as well. Okay. So what we're going to be looking at today is the cycle of panic disorder. Okay. So what that is when we ultimately we end up with a fear of fear itself. And what that often means is we end up with panic attack after panic attack after panic attack, because we're constantly almost like zooming in on ourselves and frightened to death that another panic attack might come, which inevitably brings it on. Okay, so if this sounds like you, what I'm going to be doing today is talking through the cycle of panic disorder and also sharing with you how I recovered it and what you need to do to recover as well. Okay. So let's get started. So what I'm going to post below is the cycle of OCD, but also the cycle of panic disorder too. Okay. So part one is when we experience that intrusive sensation of panic. Okay. So what this might look like is all of a sudden we experience racing thoughts. Our heart starts to race and we feel a bit weird and unreal. We might feel like we're in a movie, or we might look in the mirror with depersonalization and feel like we don't recognize ourselves. Okay. There are many symptoms of panic. It can happen all over your body. Some people might get visual disturbances and flashing lights. Some people might get tingly fingers. Some people might feel really nauseous. And all of these things are just symptoms of panic. Not dangerous, but they can feel frightening. Okay, when we're experiencing panic, often people talk about a sense of like impending doom. And if you're familiar with that, this is probably part of what we call an adrenal flood. Okay, so panic attack, yeah, I think that sentence can often feel quite scary because something is attacking us. And it isn't. You are just experiencing lots of adrenaline, which is the hormone that your brain gives you when it thinks that there's something dangerous outside. Okay. So part one, we experience that intrusive sensation. We can't control that. We can't help that. Part two, however, this is where we start to try and control panic, which is part of the problem. Okay. Part two is when we start to focus on the intrusive sensation of panic. So what this might look like for me personally, I would zoom in on my racing thoughts and I would be like, oh my gosh, wow, those are really intense. And all of my attention would go up into the racing thoughts. Some people who experience a racing heart, all of their attention might go inwards. So, oh my gosh, my heart is racing. And the thing is, when we give things our attention, the more attention it gives us. So an example right now, if I say to you, right, I want you to focus on your breathing. You probably weren't even thinking about that 2 seconds ago. But now, I bet you can feel a hyper-awareness of your chest, and you've zoomed in on that now, okay? This is what happens when we give parts of our body attention. Unfortunately, when we experience panic disorder, that can only heighten the sensation of panic, which is fine in and of itself, but it leads us to part three, which is where the problem starts to really take hold. Okay. Part three is when we start to misinterpret panic as a threat. Panic in itself becomes, in our brains, dangerous. Okay, I can give you a really good example. For me, like I said, my thoughts were racing, which is normal, but I thought that meant, what if I'm going crazy? What if I'm losing my mind and losing control? Other people who might get perhaps visual disturbances might have a fear of, what if this means I'm going blind? Or people with racing hearts, I'm having a heart attack. Other people who might experience like nausea might think, I'm going to throw up any minute now in front of everybody. Okay, and this is when we start to develop a fear of the sensation itself. Now, part four, I would argue this is the part that causes the most trouble when it comes to panic disorder. Okay, this is the part we let go of in particular. Okay, the compulsions, the things that we do to try and get rid of the panic, get rid of the symptom, get rid of the anxiety. Okay, so what this might look like, some people do something called internal threat monitoring. It's a massive one for me, and this is where we zoom in on ourselves and we feel like we need to keep an eye on our anxiety or our panic, keep checking in. Like, oh, how am I feeling? Is panic here? Do I feel normal? Do I feel weird? That could be one part. Some people might do lots of Googling. Other people might seek reassurance. Avoidance is also a huge compulsion where we just think, well, I can't possibly go to the supermarket anymore because I keep having panic attacks, so I'm going to remove myself. Okay. And when we do stage 4, Unfortunately, what this does is it teaches our brain that panic in itself is scary. Now, we then start to become frightened of ourselves. We stop trusting ourselves. We become scared of our brain, of our body, and this can be so painful. This was a big part of the problem for me personally, feeling like I'd lost my sense of who I am and trusting myself. When we do compulsions, such as trying to keep an eye on things internally, yes, so stage 5 is we get very, very temporary relief. We think, oh, at least I'm kind of in control here. But unfortunately, it just perpetuates the cycle because, like I said, the more attention that you are keeping inwards on yourself, and if you think, well, if I just keep an eye on my racing cart and keep checking for it, maybe using an app, using a smartphone, if I can just keep an eye on my racing cart, maybe I can prevent it. But your brain is learning, wow, the world must be dangerous because we're keeping an eye on our heart rate. Whoa, I need to keep giving this person adrenaline to keep them safe, just in case there is a danger out there. Okay. And so begins the cycle. Now, panic disorder for me personally is one of the worst things that I've ever been through because it kept me caught in a constant cycle of depersonalization, derealization, where you don't know who you are. Like you do, but you don't feel connected to your sense of self. Your loved ones feel like strangers. You feel like you're in a movie. It's really uncomfortable. Okay. What we need to do to overcome this is to break this cycle. So the way that we do this is we let go of our compulsions. Okay? We stop avoiding life. We return to living our lives in the way that we used to. Now, it isn't about us trying to get rid of the anxiety. It's about almost like wearing it like a coat and saying, well, you can come with me, but I'm not staring at the coat. I'm not going out with my friends and staring at, oh my gosh, I feel anxious, my thoughts racing, oh my God. It's not about staring inwards. You can wear it and take it with you, but whilst you go about your day mindfully and your attention is on, well, right now I'm on a shopping trip with my friends. Do I have a racing cart? So the coat's there. Yes, the racing cart can be there and it can come with us, but our attention isn't on the racing cart. And we're certainly not changing our lives to kind of adapt around the symptoms of panic. Okay? So this will be a big part of your recovery, letting go of, first of all, identifying your compulsions. So what things do you do more of now? That might be like Googling, checking in, reassurance seeking, etc. What things do you do more of because of your panic disorder? And what things do you do less of? So some people might say, I've got my coffee here, I always have my coffee. Some people might say, well, I avoid caffeine now. Because what if this sets off a panic attack? And we need to identify the things that you avoid now because of your fear of fear and go back towards those things again. Okay. Recovery is not about elimination. Recovery is about learning that you can tolerate, and there's a word for it, it's called willful tolerance, that you can tolerate anxiety and panic. And what you will see over time is that anxiety, when you're not looking for it, it simply just slips out of the back door. And you will get to a point where your life is no longer ruled by panic. And if anything, anxiety and panic becomes kind of unimportant. Does it still come up from time to time? Yeah. But it's not at the top of your priority list. It's down here whilst you're engaging with your life. And if you just let go and stop trying to control panic and anxiety, it comes and it goes actually really quite quickly. Okay, we just need to get better at allowing that natural process. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I love doing these videos before I start my morning day. But yeah, you take lots of care. Please feel free to let me know if this video has been helpful. Do comment below. It encourages me to continue making content. And you have a lovely day. Whether you're anxious or not, you can do it. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.